This is a program about coaching. Now, coaching is a system of staff development that allows the subordinate to learn by a process of discovery through guided discussion and hands-on experience. So forget the traditional picture where the student is the passive recipient. In coaching, the student discovers the answers for himself. Now, I guess it could be said that this program is itself a very bad example of coaching, because after all, it's the very opposite of the coaching experience. You just sit there passively receiving the information. I stay up here on the screen droning on and on at you. There's no interaction between us. It's not a discussion. And there's no way for you to get any hands-on experience of the skill you want to develop, which, in this case, is the skill of coaching itself. But what we can do is let you witness coaching in action. And to help us do that, we have with us a manager.
Hello, I'm Geoffrey.
And a member of his staff.
Hi, I'm Jennifer.
Yes, this is Jennifer.
They're both pretty excited about being in a training program. Jennifer, could you go and wait in there, please? Thank you. No, not through the wall, through the door. Thank you. Okay, so Geoffrey, coaching. Shall we give it a shot?
Right, so you want me to pretend to be a sort of training manager?
No, I want you to be yourself.
Hmm? What, be myself?
A manager.
A training manager?
No, this film isn't about training, it's about coaching.
What's the difference?
Well, training is carried out by a trainer somewhere else. Coaching is what you, the manager, do on the job, so that while your people are acquiring new abilities or having their performances enhanced, the department's tasks are being handled and its goals are being accomplished.
Well, that sounds pretty good. All right, I'll give it a go.
Well, have you ever done any coaching before?
Well, not as such. I don't have that kind of time at my disposal. Don't even have the time to do my own work, let alone taking on an extra training burden. Sorry, coaching burden.
So if you haven't got enough time to do all your own work, then the solution will be to have your staff do some of that work for you.
Well, theoretically, I'm sure it would.
No, in practice. I mean, as your staff is coached towards greater competence, it'll free you up to do more managing.
Excuse me, am I actually in this?
Is she?
Oh, yes, absolutely.
I'm sorry to interrupt.
No.
I realise you're very busy.
Oh, sorry. I'd like to be less busy, Jenny. So, today, Jenny? Oh. Today, I'm going to be coaching you in, excuse me, 1 minute. What am I supposed to be coaching her in?
Well, let's think. What's the aim of coaching? Well, what are we trying to achieve here?
Well, I'm trying to give myself more time by getting my staff to do some of my work for me.
Right. So you might want to delegate a task that at the moment is tying up your time and energy.
Yes, but you said that coaching is intended to enhance some specific aspect of a member of staff's performance.
Exactly. So there are two goals. The ideal coaching situation allows subordinates to complete a task that you've delegated while at the same time strengthening their skills, you see? So what task do you think you'd like to delegate to Jennifer?
Well, I have so many things, you know. I mean, I've got a pretty full plate at the moment, what with the opening of the new Northern office and one thing and another. Well, should I get back to you tomorrow?
Well, let's start at the other end, shall we? What's Jennifer interested in?
Of course, yes. I don't get your drift now. I don't know.
Was that it?
No.
Am I finished?
No, sorry. I'll be with you in a minute.
Yes, why not ask her?
What?
Ask her what she's interested in.
Ask her?
Well, Jennifer, what would you like to be able to do better? You know, some skill that you feel that you lack or that you'd like to develop?
I didn't say I had any complaints, by the way. Didn't.
Finance. Budgeting. I really haven't got a very good grasp of the whole budget building process.
Okay, budgeting. Now, what's current in your department at the moment?
Well, at the moment, everybody's talking about the new Northern office.
So you need to do a budget for that.
Yes, of course.
So why not coach her in building a budget for the setting up of the Northern office? I mean, that's one of the things that's taking up your time.
Yeah. Yes.
And why don't you let her take that load off?
Yes.
Good.
Yeah. What? You're serious?
Well, yes. Is there a problem?
Yes, of course. I mean, you heard what she said. She doesn't know anything about budget building. That's precisely where she's weak.
No. It's precisely where she needs developing.
Yes, but if I were to do this with all my staff, standards would plummet.
Why?
Why? Because they wouldn't do it as well as I would.
Well, all right, but you'd be supervising them, right? So your staff would get better. And then that would give you more time for managing the department better, so overall standards would improve.
Yes, but now you're opening a whole new can of worms.
Well, what?
Look, if my staff get really, truly, and noticeably better, and, you know, other people from other departments notice, they'll come in here and poach them.
Oh.
Oh, yeah. You hadn't thought of that, had you?
No. So if you had to choose between running a department that was full of very skillful and highly motivated and enthusiastic people whom everybody wanted, and a department that was full of such hopeless incompetence, you know, so appallingly inadequate that nobody wanted them, although they were dying to leave because they were so unmotivated and bored, which of those two departments would you, in fact, choose to run?
Difficult, but I see your point, yes. Okay.
Fair enough.
Ah, good at last. For a moment I thought we were never going to get round to it.
One last thing. Can I talk to you about something else?
Of course.
Can we stop the camera?
Yes, certainly. Cut.
The red light's still on.
Yes, it's just cooling down.
Only it is a bit personal. Well, supposing the worst happens.
Worst?
Yes, you know, this coaching thing. I mean, say it actually works.
Ah.
And I was wondering, where does that leave me? You know, my staff will be doing the kind of work that's always been my personal strength, and I'll look absolutely useless.
Didn't quite catch the last bit.
I'll look useless. Everyone will see that I'm not really doing anything. You know, people will say, look, they'll say, pointing, they'll say, look at that useless prat. I mean, he's not absolutely invaluable, is he? I mean, his department runs without him.
Yes, excuse me. That is the single greatest compliment that anyone can pay a manager. Anybody who is brilliant enough to build a machine that runs itself is to be envied. Awfully sorry, I don't know why I did that. It wasn't coaching at all. Wasn't even training as far as I remember. Just a random outburst of senseless violence. I do apologize. So, shall we try again?
Yes. The red light's on.
Yes, just warming up.
Okay, Jennifer. Okay. Sorry about the delay, Jenny. Right, now, building a budget.
There, I'm afraid we have to leave it.
Leave it? Leave it? But we haven't even begun.
Well, I'm sorry, but he's used up all the time in this program with what some people would regard as unimportant, half-witted objections, but which I, of course, recognize to be important half-witted objections. Never mind, there's another program coming along in a moment. Coffee?
Look, am I going to be in that one?
What does he mean by half-witted?
America.
The worst cup of coffee I've ever tasted. Hello and welcome back. Right, coaching, second program, and this is the how-to section, okay?
Yes.
Good.
Look, I've been thinking, during the break, coaching. Even if it is part of my job, and even if I have the time, and even if standards don't fall, and even if my staff don't get poached from under me, and even if I don't end up looking like a complete and totally useless twit, what's the bloody point?
Well, Geoffrey, the bloody point is that coaching is the most guaranteed method ever devised to ensure the improved productivity of your department. But apart from that, it is completely useless!
all right, I was only asking.
Okay. In that case, would you by any remote chance, at this point, now that we are in fact starting a second program on the subject of coaching, like to take, as it were, a stab at it?
Yes.
Good. How do you propose to start?
Well, I think I've got the gist of it. Let's see if I've got it right.
Okay.
Jenny. Hello. Now, I want you to prepare a budget for the proposed opening of the new Northern office. Just cost the whole damn thing, okay? People, premises, you name it included. But don't worry, if you make a mistake, I've got to do it properly anyway, so you won't be held responsible. But don't dawdle. Remember, you've got your own work to do. How's that, all right?
Anything else?
Good luck. Bon voyage. Well, that was easier than I thought. I don't know why I was making such a fuss.
Jenny,
Yes?
how do you feel?
Bit confused.
How confused? Say a scale of 1 to 10.
12?
Jenny, you are doing the budget for the new Northern office.
Yes, but I don't know what that entails. I don't know what I'm responsible for. I don't know how long I've got. And I've no idea where to start.
So what do you think you might have done better?
Identify the goals? Possibly, I'd guess.
Well, why don't we go back in time and have you try it again?
Backwards in time.
Sure, it's easy. This is video, you see, so we just fast rewind and...
What happened?
Off you go.
Okay, Jenny. Now, as you know, the company is proposing to open a new Northern office. Now, our goal is, over the next, let's say, month, is I'm going to coach you through the process of building a budget for that.
So I'll be helping you build a budget for the new Northern office?
Yes.
Great.
Is that right?
Yes, I think so.
Well, surely you're helping her.
So?
So our goal is that by the end of 4 weeks, Jenny would have built a budget. You're not going to do this, she is.
But I wouldn't know where to start.
You see, she wouldn't know where to start.
So, that would be a good goal to set for this meeting. That by the end of the meeting, Jenny will know where to start. She'll have a plan of action. I mean, the whole plan may not be completely clear in every detail, but the first stage will be. So, identify the goals. Let's go back on that.
How'd you do that?
Never mind, just get on with it.
Okay, so number one.
That at the end of 4 weeks, I will have built a budget for the new Northern office.
Right, you set your goals. How do you feel, Jenny?
Oh, much better. It's nice to know where you stand.
Good, carry on.
Right, okay. Now, building a budget, it's difficult to explain, but here's what any sensible person would do. First of all, and you'd better make a list. No, Jenny, not there. You better use a proper pad here. Like this. Now, if you put all the numbers down the left-hand side of the page, you'll have your... No, Jenny, I'll do it.
Could I have a quick word?
No, just a minute. I'm just getting into my stride.
No, you see, we want her to get into her stride, you see. That's why I said guide her. I didn't say lead her by the nose. In coaching, you launch your subordinate on a personal voyage of discovery. In fact, the principle that underlies all coaching is...
Promote discovery.
Yes, don't instruct. Instead, seek out your colleagues' ideas. So, let's try that again.
Right, Jenny. In this coaching exercise, you're going to build a budget for the opening of the new Northern office. Now, as you can imagine, this is the kind of challenge that can destroy a company if it's not handled with expertise and mature judgment. Now, obviously, you have very little experience and would be the last person to turn to for advice. But putting all that aside for one moment, I'd like to hear your suggestions. Feel free.
Well, hard to know where to start, really, but Perhaps it would be a good idea to start with staff.
No. The first
staffing.
thing...
Don't interrupt. Listen. Sorry for interrupting there. Bad coaching on my part.
Yes. Sorry, Jenny. Carry on.
Well, I guess the first thing would be to find out what level of staffing there's going to be. I mean, are we going to relocate people? And I mean, what number of staff are we talking about? And then there's the building. And what type of premises are we after? I mean, have we got any specific physical requirements, such as,
Yes.
a loading dock or maybe a service area for vehicles? And really, I guess we have to look at the pros and cons of purchase as opposed to leasing. What I don't really understand about the whole thing about the new office is it simply for expansion, or are we opening a whole new department?
Are you listening?
What?
Are you listening?
Yes. Yes, I mean,
If we start talking about relocation...
No. Well, were you listening?
Yes.
Interesting point you made, I thought, about expansion.
yeah, well, I didn't listen to everything, you know. I just thought I'd let her rattle on a bit, you know. Do what you suggested, really. Voyage of discovery and all that. And then when she's got it all off her chest, just give her the stuff she needs to know.
So you weren't listening?
No.
No, fine. Well, one of the things that we need to do when we're trying to promote discovery in others is to...
Listen actively.
Exactly.
Listen actively? What the hell does that mean, listen actively? Waggle my ears?
To listen actively, you have to be quiet.
But I was being...
Absolutely quiet.
I'm...
Not even that. Really quiet. So no fiddling, no jotting down shopping lists.
I wasn't...
No stifled criticism, no impatient gestures, no fidgeting, no hurrying up noises.
What?
No buts, just listening. And in order to do that, you have to make your own mind quiet so that your thoughts don't interfere with hearing what she's saying.
Yes, but...
So look, think of it as an act of generosity in which you are giving her your time. So, the first thing about active listening is to get yourself quiet. And the second thing is, when she's finished, ask questions and sum up what you've heard her say to make sure that you've understood her. Is that clear? Any questions?
Only one.
Yes?
What's the bloody point? What's the point of actively listening to someone who doesn't even know what they're talking about?
Okay.
With all due respect, Jenny, it's in a very lovely handwriting.
Now, is there anything else you want to say about this?
Yes, well, I find it very hard to sit here patiently letting her drivel on, very promising drivel, Jenny, when I know the answers and could save a lot of time by just giving them to her.
Okay, let's see if I got this right. You feel that you know exactly how the job should be done.
Right.
And you don't feel that Jenny's opinions are likely to be helpful, yes?
Yes.
And I'm also hearing that the pressure of time gives you some trouble, that patience isn't easy for you under these circumstances. Have I missed anything?
No, I'd say you'd understood me perfectly.
Good, that's what I was trying to do. You see, to listen actively, not to judge, just to hear you and show you that you're being heard.
Well, that makes me feel a better person, but it gets us back rather neatly, I'd say, to the original question.
What's the bloody point?
The point is that if you see you're being listened to, it gives you a bit of confidence, and that helps you to think more clearly. You know, it's a funny thing, but most of us know more about things than we think we do. For example, guided by my questions just now, you delivered a very concise and indeed poignant explanation of why people resist coaching.
Yes, I did, didn't I? You know, I didn't know I knew so much about it.
Well, active listening accomplishes just that.
So before I start reacting, I get a clear picture in my mind of what she's suggesting.
Right, so let's fast forward a bit and see that in action.
And then, once we're sure that premises really are cheaper if we go for an industrial park site as opposed to a central urban site, well, then all we have to do is look at the expense of moving staff all the way up there.
Okay. You tell me if I've heard you correctly. You think an industrial park site is more economic?
Yes.
And that it offers premises with the added advantage of greater flexibility.
Yes.
And you're suggesting that we relocate staff from here?
Well, yes, I think so, unless...
No, I just wanted to make sure I'd heard you right. It's my turn now. I've actively listened, and now I'm going to actively reply. Rubbish! 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 No, it won't work.
Well, why?
Why?
won't
Because
it?
it's a bad idea, Jenny.
Well, yes, but why exactly?
Just trust me.
Excuse me, that won't work.
See?
No, if you coach her like that, it won't work.
Why not?
Trust me.
See?
What? I'm sorry, what? What is going on here, precisely?
Geoffrey, what were the consequences of your little exchange with Jennifer just now?
Well, she learnt that it won't work.
Anything else?
Yes, she learnt that the average rainfall in Iraq on Thursdays. Of course she didn't learn anything else. She doesn't need to know anything else. I'm sorry, this is a bad idea. Thank you and good night.
Listen, how would you like to learn something about coaching at this point? I mean, I realise this is a bit of a bolt out of the blue for you, but the problem is this programme is about coaching, so I suppose we ought to have some. So, may I?
Yes, okay.
Geoffrey. Jeff. What would be the consequences of putting Jenny's suggestion into practice?
Well, one, it would cost a ridiculous amount of money relocating people up there with their entire families, and two, if we don't hire locally, we can't avail ourselves to some very attractive local development grants.
I see. So it won't work.
That's what I've been trying to say.
Yes, but now I understand why. Look, I don't learn anything if teacher just says right or wrong. I learn only if I understand the consequences. So, if you can guide Jennifer towards understanding the consequences of her suggestion, then she learns not only that it's good or bad, but she understands why, and then she can apply that thinking to similar situations in the future.
Yes!
So, to sum up, to promote discovery, we...
Consequences the outdraw. Draw out the consequences.
Right, by asking questions, okay?
Jenny, why don't you think this through again, out loud, so you can see what the consequences might be?
Well, I just thought that if we hired from among staff we already know, we won't run the risk of having to staff the new office with untrained people. Mind you, I haven't looked into the cost of relocating people as opposed to the cost of training people up there. And I suppose there might be other advantages to hiring locally that I haven't thought of yet.
Well, what do you know about the area already?
Well, housing's cheap, so I was thinking people would be keen to move there, but just from watching the news, I know it's an area of high unemployment. So, I'm just wondering if there are any incentives to use local labour.
Well, you're absolutely right. I happen to know there's a very attractive development grant aimed at organisations like ours, providing we employ local labour.
So, maybe relocating people isn't such a good idea after all.
That's what I've been trying to say. See, it won't work.
Yes, I understand. Now.
See? Works.
Yes.
But, just supposing we were to get premises that are larger than we need at present, and...
No, that wouldn't work. Or rather, do go on.
I was just thinking, sooner or later we might need to expand the northern offices, so it makes sense to get a location with room for expansion.
Sure.
I mean, a larger building there would cost less than the ground rent we pay here at headquarters, surely. Well, you know how overcrowded we are in the building, and we could move one of the departments. What about accounts? There's really no particular reason for the accounts department to be situated here at headquarters, is there?
I mean, perhaps not. Why?
If we moved just the key personnel from accounts up there...
Jenny, I don't think you realise what would be the consequences.
That would give us 3 or 4 well-trained, experienced and trustworthy members of staff to ensure some continuity in the move.
Well, hey, that's good, yes. And it's a funny thing. Larger buildings are cheaper in certain respects, like running costs.
Well, that's interesting. Then these key personnel could supervise the setting up of the new office.
While preparing for the arrival of their own department.
Exactly.
Yes, that's a very good idea. Or rather, it might be. You know, we'll just have to think the thing through.
I don't want to confuse him, overload, but as you will have spotted, another advantage of having her draw out the consequences is that she may get a good idea that he hasn't thought of.
What?
Nothing, just checking the lens. Yes, that's fine.
It just occurs to me that I can't actually cost this until I've got some idea of a schedule.
Yes, of course. Scheduling can be a nightmare because I remember once.
What?
Oh,
What?
I think I'll just stretch the legs. Coffee? Coffee, anyone?
What's the matter?
Oh, I was just about to talk about a really embarrassing experience I once had, and the least said the better, I think.
Oh, was it indecent?
No, nothing like that.
Well, share your experience.
Yes, but...
No, all your experience.
Oh, yes, but Jenny,
No. Including your mistakes.
sharing my experience? You make it sound like group therapy. Oh, come on. Didn't come here to talk about my feelings toward my mother. And next thing you know, you'll have us tearing off our clothes and chanting.
What's really bothering you?
Look, if I talk about my mistakes in front of Jenny, she won't respect me the way she should.
What? Do you seriously imagine that she thinks that you never make mistakes, that God, in fact, created you perfect?
Well, what if you put it like that?
Well, is she more likely to respect someone, okay, who is big enough to admit a mistake when he makes one, or a vain, unrealistic liar who's insulting her intelligence? You choose.
We were once exhibiting at an international sales conference. I had to find a couple of offices, computer room, VIP suite for entertaining clients, and so on, and most important, a communications center, so we could keep in touch with our whole operation worldwide. Practically every head of department was there, you see.
What happened?
Well, the phones couldn't be connected as fast as I'd thought, so it turned out to be not very good as a communication center.
Oh, dear.
There was more of a lack of communication center. Yes, my CEO had to keep popping out to the bar and use the payphone so he could phone Tokyo. Oh, it was a disaster.
What happened?
Well, yeah, my manager took responsibility. Mind you, he was very keen that I should see where I went wrong.
Which was where?
I learnt that facilities must always be in place before staff arrive. In other words, I learnt how terribly important it is to prioritize when you're planning.
You know, hearing you talk about mistakes, I don't feel quite so terrified about making one myself. Well, this is probably one now, but how would it be if I actually went up there myself and had a look at the properties that were available? I mean, if I saw a real bargain in the commercial properties lists, then maybe I could just engage a surveyor and sort the whole thing out.
And let's not get carried away. I don't think that's a very good idea at all. No, oh dear, no.
Well, look, how would it go wrong?
Well, just think, she'd go up there, clutching her list of possible priorities.
Oh, is that a problem?
No, but then she'd go around acting like the head of acquisitions or something.
Is that a problem?
No, not in itself, no. But then she'd have to commit the company to surveying a property and... Oh, my God, look.
Hi, I've bought the building, installed the phones, ordered the milk and the newspapers. Now, how do you feel about window boxes?
Ah! Stop her! The woman's gone mad!
Did you see that? She'll be invading Poland next.
Look. What you're saying is that up to the point just before she makes a financial commitment, she's okay.
Wait a minute. Well, yes.
And that's the point at which you need to have your next meeting, before she makes a commitment. Everything up to that point she can go ahead with.
Can she?
Well, you tell me.
Yes, she can.
And then, before she goes any further, you have your next session. Now, that way, although she can make small mistakes, she can't make a really costly one. In other words, to limit the damage that she might cause, you...
Set the paramilitary on her.
She has invaded Poland!
Sorry. Set the parameters.
And I'll know you'll want to come back with a firm recommendation. That's the point where we talk about the next step.
So I take the process right up to the point of decision, then come back to you to discuss progress and to decide on the size of the next step.
Right, so I can see if you're getting it right.
No, so that she can see if she's getting it right. But well done, it seems to be working very well. Next, now that you've put in that safety device, Jenny has to be authorized and empowered by you to perform the task.
I'm sorry, how do you mean?
I think I see what he means.
Sorry, but I can't give that information out to just anybody.
But I'm sure the memo should have reached you by now.
Look, there's no precedent requiring me to take orders for an ordinary member of staff.
No, I'm afraid it's company policy. Travel expenses are only available to heads of department on official business.
Thank you for your help. That's what he means by authorize and empower.
But look, can't Jenny just come back to me if she runs into these kind of problems?
Oh, yes, of course she can come back if she runs into major difficulties, of course. But you want her to take on some real responsibility here. To do that, you have to make her responsibility visible. So, before she leaves, make a couple of phone calls to inform the relevant people that she is acting on your behalf.
Right. And, well, there's no dialing tone.
No, it's just a prop telephone. You'll just have to remember that rule. It's the fourth step in the coaching process. Authorize and empower.
Yes, well, I think I've got that.
So now Jenny's all set?
Yes?
Fine, so shall I go now and get on with it?
I don't know. Should she go now and get on with it?
Nope, not until you've recapped on the meeting. That's the final step. You confirm where you are. It's just the same as an ordinary journey. You stop, and you look back, and you look forwards.
I don't quite...
I think I understand. We look backwards and sum up what we've covered during this session, and then we look forwards and agree on the action points that will take us through to the next session.
That's right. Then, when Jenny comes back for the next session, you do all of these steps again.
Okay, well, let's,
Is that all, then?
Nearly. Now, before you go, let's sum up what ground we've covered in this first meeting.
Okay, well, I think we decided that a month from now we're going to produce a budget for the opening of the new Northern office. And we agreed that by the end of this coaching session we were going to have arrived at a plan of action. And I think we've done that. At least I'm clear about what I have to do up to our next meeting.
There.
Thank you. And while I'm putting together the paperwork, I'm going to have your secretary start making those phone calls. Now, she knows I'm going to be asking her to do that, so that by the next time we see each other, I should have a short list of possible properties. So, since we're both comfortable with everything from the previous meetings, you're now going to give me 3 days with expenses to travel up there and scrutinise these 10 choices. Then I can make my decision and come back with a recommendation to the Development Committee.
Well, let's be clear. The recommendation to the committee will follow the next meeting.
Yes. Okay. Sorry. And I'll try and get these transport figures down. I realise I've overestimated them. Thanks.
No.
Thank you for your time, Jenny. Well, I'll see you in a week. Let me know if you have any problems, okay?
Will do.
Good. Well, I guess I'll be pushing off too, I think.
Really? Well, what have you just learned?
Recap.
Exactly. So, now you have to sum up our meeting.
What meeting?
Well, this whole program. I mean, I've been coaching you in a sense. I haven't done it very well because I badgered you and instructed you and laid down the law and strangled you.
Oh, only a little.
But you'll probably do it better than me, you see, because you'll see the results. The way in which it galvanizes your department and breathes new life into your organization. So, perhaps you can recap what you learned here today.
Okay, well, first we set the goals.
No, not to me, to them. I know it.
Yes, of course you do. First, we set the goals. The goals for the task and the goals for the meeting. Then I try and encourage her to do the talking. I guide her, but I let her learn by discovery. And I do this by listening actively. And then by encouraging her to think it through, we draw out what the consequences might be of putting that thinking into action. And one way I can stimulate this is to share my experience, including my mistakes. When we both feel satisfied that she's thought the plan of action through,
we set the parameters. We agree the next step.
Reassured by this, I then make sure that she's authorized and empowered to carry out that step. And then, at the end of each session, we recap, going back over the ground that was covered during this session and confirming the action to be taken before the next one. Thank you.
Tell me one more thing. How do you feel about all this?
Well, not as anxious as I did when you first started explaining it. You know, it all seemed a bit dangerous at first, a bit uncontrolled.
Well, think of it this way. It's 2 parts hands-on to 1 part hands-off. I mean, you control at the beginning when you establish the goals, then you freewheel in the middle, and then you control again at the end when you agree the size, the next step, and the timetable.
Yes, yes, he's not quite the anarchist nightmare I feared. In fact, I wouldn't mind going through all the points again.
Oh, all right. But be a bit careful, it's rather sensitive.
Of course.
Oh dear. Oh dear. I told you it was sensitive. Honestly, give it back to me.
All right, here you are. It's not going to do us much good, though. You're not old enough to use it.
Oh.